welcome to Post-Mormon Parenting. I'm recording this on Saturday, June 6, 2020, amidst the backdrop of protests going on around the country and indeed around the globe, which were sparked by the killing of George Floyd on May 25th by police officers. There have been other episodes from other people that have done an incredible job explaining white privilege, systemic racism, things like that. And especially when it has to do with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I don't feel like I have anything helpful or valuable to add to that, so instead I'd rather just recommend the things that they've done. One of my favorite things is Zelph On the Shelf. They have a great episode just a few days ago about racism in the church, and I'll link that in the comments below. And then also there's a great podcast called Radio Free Mormon, if you haven't already heard of it. He does an excellent episode on racism, and I'll link that in the comments below as well. So I don't want to really go into that so much. I think if you're not convinced about the racist history of the church, go ahead and look at those sources. They're very, very informative, very helpful. For me, I wasn't aware that racism really even existed in America, besides like teeny little anomaly instances here and there, but I had no idea how systemic it was or how deeply ingrained it was until, gosh, I think just until several years ago. Because in my experience, I just never saw it. It never happened right in front of my eyes, so I never saw it, and I never really heard any stories of it happening from sources that I thought were really credible. So I didn't know. And as all of these events are unfolding with the protests and police showing an extra show of force, as this is all going on, a lot of people have been posting on social media their support for Black Lives Matter, and they're sharing stories from Black people, amplifying their voices, trying to really show up and trying to find resources to teach our kids how to be anti-racist, how to teach ourselves to be anti-racist, how to recognize our blind spots. I know all of us have really been grappling with a lot of heavy information, things that, of course, people in the Black community knew for a long time, but just, I think, is finally now becoming a reality for more and more people trying to understand it for the first time. And I think it's been extra heartbreaking for me and a lot of you to see your loved ones and your friends in denial about everything. That really is so heartbreaking to hear when you're a person who you've seen footage and you've heard the stories and you know that this stuff is happening, to hear other people say, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. It's like one or two little instances here and there. It's not a systemic problem. We just need to go back to like not seeing color, you know, and we need to go back to the good old days or whatever, you know, and lots of hate speech and people claiming that they are just trying to be loving toward everybody, you know, all lives matter. That we've all heard so many times, but really just really invalidating and shutting down any room for conversation. What I want to talk about today is for each of us to try to remember just how difficult it is for people who have deeply ingrained beliefs to try to get out of those beliefs or undo those beliefs or stop believing in them anymore. And as post-Mormons, we can all relate to that big time. I know many of you watching and myself would have described myself as a true blue, dyed-in-the-wool through and through Mormon, and proud to be so. And having a faith transition is a huge turning point in one's life. It's not easy. It's sometimes a very traumatic process. Having your beliefs shattered and having to be in this weird, unfamiliar space of, I don't know anymore. I used to know. I used to be able to say, I know the church is true. I know the Book of Mormon is true. I know certain things are. And I know what will happen when I die. I know what has happened to my grandmother who just passed away. I know that she's watching over me. To go from all of that to a place of, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what's going to happen when I die. I don't know where my grandma is, if she even is anywhere. Being in that space is a really, really hard space. So when we are trying to help other people change their belief system about race and about racism, let's remember how difficult of a space that is. Let's remember what brought us to our faith transitions. It wasn't just someone telling you Joseph Smith practiced polygamy, or blacks didn't receive the priesthood until 1978. And before that, they weren't even allowed in the temple. They weren't allowed to get sealed to their families. It wasn't stuff like that. It wasn't one thing here or one thing there, or look, here's a list of things. I mean, I even read the whole CES letter several years ago, and I rationalized away all of it. I read the whole damn thing, and I rationalized away all of it. There was an explanation for everything, because that's what I had to wrap my mind around in order to sustain or maintain my faith narrative. I had to believe that there were answers for everything. I had to believe that it was all made up or just mistaken. I had to believe that there was an answer for everything in there in order to maintain my faith. Similarly, our friends and loved ones who are having a really hard time or really in denial, grasping issues around racism, they haven't gotten to that space yet. They're still in a place where they can rationalize away anything, right? And they feel very, very strongly about it. So let's think about what did bring you to your faith crisis. I'm going to postulate this hypothesis that every single one of us did not convert to the church for logical reasons, right? We had a spiritual experience, we had feelings, we had emotions, we had an emotional catalyst kind of experience which helped us to believe in the church. And we read scriptures and other things that helped confirm that, but mostly it was that moment or few moments in time that was the catalyst for us. Similarly, having a faith transition out of the church, it's not a bunch of lists and facts that brought us out of the church. It was at one moment or another, or multiple moments, we had a catalyst. We had an emotional response to something where we suddenly felt, that's not right. Wait a second. Believing in this doesn't feel right anymore. It doesn't feel good. There's something that happened for each person. And like I said, I can't speak 100% for sure, but based on my experience and talking with other people, it really seems like this is pretty much how it goes for just about everybody. That it wasn't logic and reasoning that got you into it. It wasn't logic and reasoning that got you out of it either. There was something that had to have happened. For me, it was listening to Radio Free Mormons episodes about McKenna Denson. All of a sudden, I felt there was something sinister going on. And suddenly it felt not right anymore. And then as I learned more and more, I started to understand more things, and I started to realize more things, and then I was able to conclude some things. But it wouldn't have happened without that catalyst. So let's apply that to our friends and other loved ones who are having a hard time understanding or seeing racism in its forms in America today. There has to be some kind of catalyst for them. For many people, it was watching George Floyd die, watching that happen for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And that was an extremely emotional time and experience for people. And that's what was their catalyst that finally got them learning and understanding and breaking down those barriers of belief in what they believed before and able to see new information. if you have friends and family members who have not had that visceral experience yet, maybe they never will, but showing them a list of facts and statistics and data isn't going to change their minds. So I'm going to use those terrible, awful words. Be patient with them. Know that if you throw more and more and more information at them, they're more likely to dig in their heels and entrench even more. Give them space, give them time, give them some resources, but give them space. We all know if someone had been leaving the church or had left the church when we were TBM, all in, true blue, through and through, believing everything 100%, and they tried to force anti-Mormon stuff on us, we would have been like, get thee hence, Satan. You know what I mean? It's the same thing here and now. I know it's frustrating. I know it's hard. I know it's painful, especially when people are in denial about the suffering and the taking of human lives. We see that in the church as well. We see our friends who are still in the church trying to live a life and full of shame and self-loathing and trying to be what the church wants them to be, especially with our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, trying to live this life that the church tells them they need to live, and being filled with self-doubt and insecurities and self-loathing, and what a dangerous place that is for many of them. We know what it's like to want to go in and rescue them and tell them, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's okay. You don't have to worry about this. You can live the life that you want to live without shame, without fear of being cast into outer darkness. It's going to be okay. It's not real, it's fine. We want to do the same thing and shake the shoulders of people who are in denial about this, but we can't. We know that's not going to be effective. So I want to share an experience that I just had a few moments ago as I was getting ready to record this episode, and thinking about what I was going to say, thinking about my topic, and I got a message from a close member of my family, and it was a Fox News clip with Tucker Carlson, and in a nutshell, he basically makes it sound like there were only 2 cases in all of 2019 where police acted inappropriately toward African Americans. And even then, we don't even know if it was racially motivated at all. They're blowing it way out of proportion. It is nowhere near genocide. And in fact, police officers are getting harmed way more than civilians are getting harmed. And so very much invalidating and giving things that like, here are the facts, and here are the facts, and those are the facts. And it just made me so mad. It made me so mad that he would send this to me. And I crafted this really sarcastic response. Man, was it dripping with sarcasm. And I thought, damn, that's good. I'm gonna send that. And then this little voice inside my head thought, what would Jesus do? No, I'm just kidding. That's not what I thought. I thought, this is exactly what I am preparing to record a video about what not to do. It's just going to make this person dig in his heels even more and entrench even more. This is not what I want. Don't post something in anger. I just need to take a few moments to take some deep breaths, let my heart rate get back down to normal, let my blood stop boiling for a while, be calm, be cool, and draft a response. And when I calmed down, I looked at my sarcastic comment and realized it's not going to be helpful. And I wrote something else entirely. So I'll read you what I wrote. I said, Tucker Carlson, although he sounds convincing, is inaccurate and misrepresents the facts. He makes it sound like there were only 2 cases last year when cops acted unfairly to African Americans. The way he's trying to gaslight and invalidate the experiences of Black people across America is heartbreaking. I know it's painful and it's hard to believe, but just listen to their stories. Listen to, insert name of my Black brother. See their pain and suffering. See the police reports that have been falsified. See the footage. Black people's voices have been silenced over and over. Listen to them. I know we don't like it. I know we don't like to hear it. It's too painful and too hard to believe that such horrifying things would happen on a regular basis and at the hands of public servants who we trust and love. We want to be skeptical, and that's fine, but don't let that skepticism keep you from hearing their stories and understanding that they have valid reasons for protesting. Anger is not a bad thing. Anger is informative. It is energetic. It is motivational. Keep that motivation and that energy in you, but use a cool and calm head when you're responding. I know it's hard. It is so difficult to do that, but it's so important that we try to connect with each other soul to soul. Tell them, I see you. I hear you. I understand what you're saying. Here's more. Of all people, we know how hard it is to question and doubt our deeply held beliefs. We know how easy it is to rationalize other facts away because they challenge those deeply held beliefs. We know how scary it is to be in an unknown place. Show them that you understand them. Try to help them understand you and the plight of other people, and we just might be able to have a productive conversation. Lastly, what can we do as parents? The first step is to educate yourself. I think nothing is better than listening to Black people tell their stories. Listen to their stories about their racist experiences. I'm a stay-at-home parent, and I'll be honest, I don't really get around to reading hard copies of books these days. And one of the 2 books that I actually managed to finish reading last year was this one, White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. I picked it up from my local library on a whim and ended up loving it so much. I bought my own copy, highlighted, took notes, and ended up being really, really eye-opening for me. And I feel like I am a lot better able now to help my children not just be not racist, but be actively anti-racist. Also, let's make sure that we are providing our children with plenty of positive role models who are people of color, more than just learning about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. during Black History Month every February. As I reflect on my own childhood, I know that one thing that was detrimental for my view of people of color was seeing the majority of my TV shows and movies that I grew up with casting people of color in villainous or not very smart roles. I went to school in what I would consider a pretty diverse neighborhood and had lots of classmates who were people of color, but I never really had much experience with adult persons of color. The only experience that I had from them was seeing them on the news or in other media depicted as criminals, as villains. And so try as I might to develop my own internal moral compass, and I know my parents did a great job trying to do that for me as well. It's still inescapable that my brain would make those associations and connect those patterns. As I've become aware of it in my adult years, I've had to work hard at undoing all of that conditioning. One of the things that I'm trying to do as a parent is to make sure that my kids are watching programs that portray people of color in leadership roles, in heroic roles, in roles of people that they can look up to, people that they can identify with and look up to. We also love the Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls and the podcast by the same name. And I really appreciate that in those stories, it's not just whitewashed history. People of color are represented, and we get to hear their stories. Our kids have, and always will have, ample access to stories of great heroes who are white and male. And it's our job to help give them more stories to add to that. And we're not taking anything away from that, but we're adding to that. Here, look, all these people can contribute in amazing, wonderful, significant ways as well. I also am working on ordering some children's books about racism, although the ones that I would prefer to buy are all sold out right now, which is a great problem to have. I'm so glad that people are flocking to buy these. I think that's wonderful. So those are the things that I'm doing right now for my children. Please leave your notes in the comment section below on what specific things you are doing for your children as a parent. Till next time, love you all.